Oh, hello, even if it's only the half of you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Okay, so today marks a shift. And have I mentioned like 6,000 times it's a psychometric test? Well, it's remarkable to me. I mean, I was up at Binghamton for an event on, I think, Wednesday evening, whatever it was, right? And here are these folks who were preparing for the test, and I say psychometric, and they've never heard the word before. You're preparing for a test and you don't understand its character or its nature. And it's not their fault. But how did we get to this place? So consistent with that, today is more what I want to start today is focusing, forget about the content, there is none. Right? In case I haven't written this up on the board like 4 zillion times. So what I want to do today is, we talk about, look, I'm sure there are exceptions, but the experience of every lawyer I know is this is how we proceed. And we don't reach the conclusion until we've met. So degree of certainty here I'm using, what is the burden of proof I'm being held to? Okay, so that would be analogous to degree of certainty, right? So in the world that Jim and I left, we would have this, we'd have this, we'd have this, right? And then the degree of certainty about the conclusion we plan to reach has to be supported beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So as we go back over, and this is the world of any lawyer, but this degree of certainty is huge. And what it implies just change the way you approach this stuff, all right? In other words, we're building the case here. We're building the case initially from information that we're representing as factual. Do you get it's really important that it be factual? And if you're not aware of that, if you're not aware of, oh yay, it's just so important to slow down. Like, this is not a big deal. I promise you it's not a big deal, and yet I say that, and an awful lot of people don't seem to be able to do it. And I don't understand. But it's one thing in your world, and you got to forget whatever you've heard in college, because chances are the person who's in the front of the room has not been trained to think this way or reason this way, and chances are they don't think or reason this way, and therefore you're going to be exposed to it. But the this way is, in the real world, if you're going to call something a fact, it's got to be factual. So again, you go to school and just say something like, we have to reduce the use of fossil fuels in order to combat global warming. And who's going to disagree with you? Who's going to disagree with you? If you walk into a classroom in college and you say, we need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels in order to combat global warming, who's going to argue with you? It's going to be one big hug. Everybody's going to hug and agree. But my point to you is that an argument? No. Can you tell me, Kinsley? Can you tell me why? And it's not an argument. Can you tell me, if we take the two statements, which is the first statement is we need to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, what role in the argument does that likely play? Conclusion. And if we take the second statement, and therefore we should do that to combat global warming, in order for that statement to be correct, what would have to be established?
Evidence that it would stop global warming to reduce.
Well, no, evidence that it would stop, but what about global warming itself?
It's a problem.
Yeah, well, that exists. Do you get that when you make a statement, that statement contains two conclusions? There are no premises in it. Because each of the things you're representing as a premise is something itself has to be proven, right? Wouldn't you have to prove that there's some nexus between fossil fuel use and global warming? Talk to me.
Yeah.
So what is hard about it? Other than you just don't want to do it, because it interferes with, oh, well, that's not what I want to believe. Oh, fuck you. Yeah, you want to be a lawyer, it's like, let's move on, right? And then over here you're saying, and we need to do this in order to prevent that, but doesn't this assume the condition that it asserts? You haven't proven it, you simply stated it. So this is not about whatever my position is or is not on global warming. It's about when you come into this world, you got to lose that stuff. You can still believe it, you can still go to marches, although hopefully you're not going to have enough time for that. But it's, from now on, a fact needs to, and think about what the LSAT, what's the definition of fact on the LSAT?
Whatever's given to you, something which does not need support.
Yeah, right, a statement, and you're both right. A statement for which no support is given or offered, right? Okay. But that is analogous to this, meaning in our world, if Jim's going to rely on a fact, you get a fact in my world is you're putting a witness on the stand, right? No witness is completely convincing. No witness. So, when we present evidence, we're vouching for whatever that is, whether it's testimonial, whether it's demonstrative. I, as a DA, am vouching for that evidence. So, here, in the real world, the degree of certainty about when can I draw my conclusion is based on the standard of proof I need to meet, right? So if I'm in a civil case, the standard of proof is it more likely than not? Is whatever I'm asserting, just more, is it 51%, not even that, is it 50.1% likely? If it is, then I'm going to win, all right? But in a criminal case, that's beyond the reasonable doubt, which is a much higher standard. You get a much higher standard implies that you're going to pay a whole lot more attention to what's up here.
Yeah.
But that's what this play, so, so now take that, because I'm telling you that's the world you're going into, no matter what type of law you practice. That's where you're going, right? Where you want to tell me, because you really feel it, right? So you want to tell me that we should reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, and you get, I'm going to cross-examine the shit out of you. Nothing personal, right? But you're coming into a very different world. And so on the LSAT, we're doing the very same thing. This is sort of analogous to what I'm saying. How do I get you to pull the trigger? So we had a conversation, I think in class 1 or class 2, right? And we read the directions, right? And we saw the word best, right? We had a conversation on what does the word best mean? What does that mean? And then as many, 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 many words in the English language. It has multiple uses. All right. So the word best it can mean only, or it can mean better. Okay? And that is driven by the issue. So the importance of this, again, going back to that, either first or second class. When that word, you see, now we're past the point of you, during that conversation, which whatever that was, we had the opportunity to examine it, you had the opportunity to question the cross. And if that was done successfully, now I can write it up, and basically it's just, use a legal term, refreshing your recollection. You're now drawing back on the conversation from the past, saying, yes, I remember that, I remember it. So here, when they say choose the best answer, and they mean choose the answer, the only possible answer, then there can only be one answer, right? So what does that mean for you? Without any exceptions, every flaw issue responds to best means only. Capiche? But you really got to nail this down, right? Because again, this is not building on anything you did in college. There's nothing you took in college that's going to help you digest what the word best means on this test, nor is it going to help you know when. Because if you're saying to me it's the only possible answer, then I know what I'm looking for. Assumptions. Every assumption issue on that test, every single one. Only one credited answer choice can be the answer, right? So do you get how important it is? If you're going through this process, right, you're working on an assumption or you're working on a flaw, right? Think of the advantage you have over somebody who's maybe being too academic, right? Because it's not an academic text. Think of the advantage you have, right? You're looking at the word assumption, you know that means there can be only one credited choice. Chances are the person sitting next to you doesn't know that. You're looking at a flaw issue, same thing. Chances are the person next to you does not know that. But knowing it's not enough, because it's a psychometric test. So knowing it is not enough. Acting on it, acting on knowledge, taking information, right, and turning information into intelligence, and then acting on that intelligence is what this is about. It's really cool. And you're going to be wrong, but you're not going to be wrong a lot. All right. And here you are, and you're looking at whatever, question number 6, right? It's an assumption. You get through the issue, right? You've read the law, the argument, which is the law. You got it. You got it. The writer is writing to be understood. The reader understands. You know about level of difficulty. Chances are the person sitting to your left or right does not know about level of difficulty. So you apply the issue to the law. You're performing. You've got those slash marks, right? The analysis is going on. You finish that, and in your mind's eye, you see what the answer is supposed to look like. And I mean, you see it. Could there be, and will there be, variations on that during the test? In other words, could you get to number 4, question number 4, and you're looking at this and it's crystal clear at this point. You've applied the issue to the law, you've done the analysis, and you have a very clear impression of what the answer choice has to look like. Could that be the case? And it will be the case. Talk to me, yes?
Yes.
Well, so now I'm analogizing to the practice of law, right? When it's that clear, and you're sure it's that clear, then you got to go for it. And if we're dealing with the word best means only, and the answer choice is A, you pick A. You're not even thinking about B or C or D or E. And A is likely to be the answer 20% of the time. And A or B is likely to be the answer 40% of the time. And if on 25% of all those, you can pull the trigger, you're gonna save a ton of time. And what you're doing is you're not acting recklessly, you're not acting in a cavalier manner, because you have prepared, you have your plan, you with me? So you know you're not gonna answer all 100 questions. You have a plan, you're prepared, and you need to have the psychology of a lawyer. You get any case that I've ever tried, in any case that Jim's ever tried, or any appeal I've ever argued, and any appeal Jim's ever argued, we did not know the outcome in advance. Right? So, you can't keep sitting there saying, oh, no, I need more, because you'd never try the case or you'd never argue the appeal. So what, that's nothing fancy about that. But it's right here. It's when am I certain? And if you consistently stink at this, what should you not be? A lawyer. Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not a lot of things. That's okay. But I would start with the premise that you will be good at it. So again, coming here, flaws, assumption, anything that says must be true. So conclusion issues that say which is fine must be true. Well, if it must be true, there can only be one. You can have conclusion issues that require you to identify what can be logically or properly inferred. They're here. So, because when you modify the word inferred with either the word logically or properly, it becomes a must be true. Now, again, here there was that one exception, which is if they use the word most, and they say which of the following can be most logically or properly inferred. The word most modifies it. It's still a statement that must be true, but there may be 2 or 3 answer choices, each of which must be true on an if-then statement. Right? Again, what all that is, and you're only going to get 2 of these on the test. But if these are all if-thens, if you say if A then B, and if B then C, and it doesn't matter what the text is, right? And then you say if C then D, and then if you say if D then E, all those statements must be true. Once you get past the A, everything must be true. So here, if they want to create a level 5, the one that's furthest down is the one that must be true. Meaning, it must be true that A brings about E, right? Must be true that B brings about E. All statements must be true. Again, don't go crazy. It's 1 or 2 of those. You're not heavily tested. Where you know you have to read everything, and again, even then, there are probabilities. You're going to have to, when you're better, has to do with, when you're strengthening or weakening an argument, it's always modified with the word most, which is by most weakens, which is by most strengthens, right? So here, but again, if you're looking at a level 1, if it's question number 4, and it says which of the following most strengthens the argument, and answer choice B takes a premise that was really not all that supportive, and answer choice B makes that premise beyond strong, beyond helpful. So it was harmful, and now it's beyond helpful. And you're looking at that saying, but answer choice B, the way that's strengthening the argument is huge. Well, you know what? If you're beyond a reasonable doubt, pull the trigger and get out of there, right? But where we're saying better, you want this to be higher. Level of certainty's got to be higher, right? Here, which of the following is most strongly supported by the information above? Meaning you want the conclusion that's the most conservative conclusion possible. So there, the word best means better. And then there are gray areas, you know, depending on how you respond to it. It'll say, you know, to me, principal issues are much more over here, but you know, you got to get it yourself, right? But for me, principal issues are, if they're identifying the principle that governs, you can't have two principles that govern, I don't think. So what we're going to do today is, again, focus on, I guess the word is technique, but how are you going to read, how are you going to attack this test, and become aware that you need to pull the trigger when you can. So, does anybody have any questions on this? So what we're going to do is we're going to be working on exam 74. We're going to be applying IRAC, right, to material that we haven't worked with yet. So we're going to be doing this, right, and saying, okay, how certain am I of this being the answer, right? And how quickly can I move out of here responsibly, having fully understood the issue, fully understood the law. Because those slash marks are, I got it. If I don't have it, it means to get my ass out of there, right? But where this comes in clearly, right? Where the telescope, where I'm looking at Venus, I see it, I got it, right? Then when I approach the answer choices, I'm approaching them simply to identify what I already know. I'm just trying to get the writer's words. All right? I think.